skeptical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, that's right. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the SNL Network's Hot Take Show right here after episode number 4 with host Jason Sudeikis and musical guest Brandi Carlile. And I am so excited to talk about this episode. Every week I know I say I'm excited to talk about it, but this week especially. And I know another guy who's very excited to talk about it. It is the great Bill Kenney. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great, John. Bad sports day for me, but SNL solved all of those ills, and Sudeikis brought it completely tonight. Fantastic.
100%. I can't wait to get into it. And joining us for the first time on the SNL Network, I am so happy and honored that she joined us on our network. It is the great Maggie Morgan from Rob Has a Podcast. Maggie Morgan, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to talk with you guys about the episode. How fun. Jason Sudeikis was back for the first time, and it was a great night. I'm excited to get into all of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on SNL. Maggie, I know you are a pro, so the audience will be so thrilled to get to hear from you. Joining us, it is, we found Waldo. It is Roy Richardson Jr. Roy, how are you?
I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about with the whole Waldo thing. This is actually just my day-to-day, attire. But I'm happy to be back. It's going to be a good episode to talk about.
Yes, for sure. Well, we have a little bit of a Halloween themed theme panel with you on it, Roy, as we get to, really, this was our Halloween episode, even though there was no really Halloween mentions throughout the night. But we'll have more talk about that a little bit down the road. Let's start with our hot takes. That's how we start our hot take show. We talk about our headlines for the night. So, what would you see if you got up on and you open up the newspaper? What would the newspaper say about SNL the night before? And I will start and I will say, I think that this show goes to show you that Jason Sudeikis is one of the greatest cast members to ever be on Saturday Night Live. I think that is my hot take. That is my headline for the night. He was so fantastic, and it didn't take a million cameos. It didn't take much to show how amazing of a cast member Jason Sudeikis is. Bill, what is your headline for the night?
Pretty similar. Jason Sudeikis reminds us that he was the glue of this show for about 8 to 10 years. And he showed it in every single sketch he was in tonight. And so excited to talk about all the different sketches because he really showed how he was the backbone of this show for so long.
Yeah, and he just fit in so seamlessly with the new cast. It was so impressive to see that. You could really take a Jason Sudeikis and put him in any era of the show, and that was what was so amazing. Maggie, what was your headline for the night?
Yeah, I think, when like Jason Sudeikis leaning on the nostalgia of all of his old characters and bringing them back with a fun, fresh twist. I also think, to your point, Bill, I think it goes to show what an incredible actor Jason is outside of his comedic ability. My favorite sketch of the night was he was not playing, an over the top, wild, wacky character. He was just acting. And I thought it was just so fabulous. And I think that he really, goes to show why he's got an Emmy an Emmy and a Golden Globe,
100%. Roy, where are you at about the night?
Well, if there's a headline, it would be Sudeikis kills it at SNL, surprising no one. I was excited about going into this episode, and I wasn't let down. So I'm excited to get through like all the other sketches. There's some really good ones tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bill, the only thing I would say, and I don't think this was a letdown, but I would say that I was expecting more appearances from some former cast members. How are you feeling about it immediately after the episode that we really only did get Fred Armisen come back?
That may be the only disappointment of the night, and continuing the theme that we saw in the Kardashian episode, random cameos. I'm always happy to see Poe Dameron anywhere, but it was very strange. I thought we'd at least get a Forte or a wig or something. Maybe the schedules didn't work out, but there was a nice nod to one of them who didn't show up, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But I that would be the only downside to this stellar episode.
Yeah, Maggie, are you in agreement about that? Do you feel like we needed more cameos tonight, or the way it went down was perfect?
No, I didn't. I was not bothered by the lack of cameos. I actually do have another hot take, and I don't want to bring down the temperature because I know we're all so excited. And it was a great episode. It was a super bro-y episode to me. Like, all of the sketches revolved around a bunch of men, even like the men's underwear sketch. Like, I'm not sure that I really related to that one. I was sort of like, what's going on here? But I was really missing, like, you know, Chloe Fineman was only in one sketch. She was in that Annie sketch. 80 was in two, and she had literally like 4 lines the whole show. So I was really missing out on these hilarious ladies. Like, thank goodness we got Heidi in that final sketch, but I was really missing. I was really missing their energy. I thought I as a woman watching, like, I was excited to see Jason, but you know, him being like obviously doing his iconic devil performance, like, was the only person on Weekend Update, and I was sort of looking forward to seeing maybe Heidi or Cecily do something there. So that was just my takeaway from it, if we're talking about hot takes and what I was missing in terms of like other cast members performing.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And Chloe was in a couple other smaller parts like prior to that, but I agree with your point for
Sorry,
sure.
I'm looking at the sketch. I forgot about the cold open.
Yeah, no problem. And also, I believe Melissa Villaseñor was cut from Weekend Update during dress rehearsal. So that would be an example of something you're talking about, Maggie. I know Alex Moffat was cut from Weekend Update during the live show because the show was going long and they wanted to obviously keep What's Up With That in the show. Roy, cameos, no cameos, how are you feeling about it?
It didn't bother me. But I was a little bummed not to at least get Will Forte. That was the one I was like, all right, please, let's just get one Will Forte one. I kind of wanted to see if they would have done like the women's classic sketches again. I was like, are they gonna go for it? But we didn't get Will Forte, but I'm hoping that maybe in the future he hosts. Just because I miss Will Forte. It'd be great to see him again.
Yeah, for sure. That would be an all-timer, definitely. But I actually agree. I actually didn't mind this. I didn't mind that we didn't get to see a ton of cameos. Bill Hader would have been nice to see, and What's Up With That? Do I think that we needed like Kristen Wiig to jump in there? I don't know that we necessarily needed that. These things would all be fun. But again, part of the things that we have been talking about for weeks was, could we take the momentum of what we were seeing in season 47 and continue it with this Jason episode? And I really think that they pulled that off. And we're going to talk about that all week, not only tonight, but also in our roundtable on Monday night. Let's get into the sketches that we got to see tonight. And the way that this show works is we're going to go through the sketches. We'll give you our opinions on them. And then you in the chat, let us know what you think of each sketch. We'll bring up your comments on screen. If you are watching along, please make sure to subscribe and like the video. We really appreciate that as we continue our hot take show. All right, Bill Kenney, we start off with our cold open. We get to see a few different Bidens. And what did you think of this? We got to see 3 different ones, including Alex Moffat, who disappeared on us last year.
Where was Jim Carrey?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think this was perfect, and seeing Biden play, or seeing Sudeikis play Biden again, and playing it like they did the Hillary sketch so many years ago with Amy Poehler and Kate McKinnon, you know, kind of time machine, 2013, talking about Psy Gangnam Style, and you know, not knowing who the last president was, and when current day Biden starts talking about the last president had McDonald's in the stateroom and porn stars. Oh, Hillary really got awesome. I thought that was a great line. But yeah, and bringing Moffat back, kind of a very meta moment. The fact that he didn't really get to do anything with his impression. He did one silent cameo, and then rolled it out, I think, one more time. But I thought it was a good way to start the show. It would have been great if they actually brought back all the Bidens. If we got Carrie, if we got who am I forgetting? Kevin Nealon, of course. Yeah. But it worked for me.
Yeah, I think this worked for me too, but I do feel that, just having JJ, or Austin, as we learned that his family calls him, and Jason, I wonder if that would have been enough. I wonder if having the extra element of having Alex Moffat's Biden in there as the joke that the two of them can come together to make fun of made this cold open even better. Maggie, how did you feel about the cold open we got to see?
I thought it was amazing. It's like a love letter to SNL, past and present. What a perfect way to start off the show when you have Jason Sudeikis hosting. I just thought it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And they were poking fun at, there is very inside, it was sort of, if you know about the Alex Moffat thing, and I really think that just shows why we came on here so excited about this episode,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Roy, how did you feel about the cold open?
I feel like you all already hit it. I just was excited. I was excited to see Sudeikis in the open. Very much surprised me. But as soon as he popped in, I was like, here we go. This is going to be a good one. Because
Mhm.
typically I'm not a huge fan of the political sketches, but this one got a lot of good laughs out of me. So I was excited. It felt really short. I don't know. Maybe that was just me, though.
I was going to say they kept it very tight, which is so rare, especially for a political cold open in this day and age. So
Yeah, that's a great point. What I have here are the times that SNL plans for each sketch during the week, and they had planned for 5 minutes and 30 seconds during the Biden cold open. So that is definitely tighter than the 7 or 8 minute cold opens we've been getting the last few weeks. And Roy, I do think you made an excellent point in that Jason Sudeikis showing up in the cold open, maybe this doesn't work for every host, but especially a former cast member, really establishes the night for everybody. And I don't think that took away
Mhm.
at all from his really emotional monologue that we got to see. Bill, as a very long time fan of the show, and seeing a former cast member come back and just basically pour his heart out on stage, how did you feel about this monologue?
I hope it's not too hyperbolic to say this is one of the best monologues I've ever seen. And that's 35 years. I mean, I love the way he ended it and talked about how he had changed his life twice, right? As a cast member, but more importantly, as a kid watching the show. And if you've watched SNL, there's a good chance that something changed your life here. I mean, that's just who can't relate to that, who loves the show and who's carried on with the show through all the good and bad. And I you were waiting that there was going to be a joke, and I'm so glad that they kept it emotional, they kept it real. They didn't bring cameos in, they didn't cut to the audience. It was just Jason pouring his heart out. Perfect.
Yeah, and I really felt like, all of us who are on an SNL podcast, people who are talking, who are joining us in the chat tonight. I mean, this monologue must have spoken to all of you as Jason was saying, like, how emotional this is and all the great moments. I mean, he spoke of some incredible moments in the show's history. Maggie, how did you feel about the monologue?
It was great. I was watching the musicians behind him, and I think that their faces sort of said it all. It's when you can feel the electricity in the room. That the second that he came out, the audience was with him the whole way. I loved how he really got heartfelt with it because he has the history and the time put in and the emotional connection to back it up, and you could really feel that through the screen.
100%. Roy, I mean, I actually did find out earlier today that the monologue was not written yet. So this was something that I think
Wow.
Jason put together pretty much at the last minute. Either that or maybe he was, keeping some of this inside until he could finally figure out the right way to say it. But, not everybody can pull something like this off. And I think that he really did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was a moment in the monologue. I can't remember exactly what he said. I think he was gesturing over to the musical, to where the musical artist performed, and you could hear just like silent. Like you could hear no one. Everyone was just like hanging on to every word that he was saying. And not a lot of I haven't seen a lot of monologues like that, especially from comedians. I mean, Jason Sudeikis is one of the funniest people I feel like who's ever come from SNL. So for him to come on and just tug at everyone's heartstrings, I was like, oh, you know what? I just started Ted Lasso last night, so I'm like, all emotional with everything Jason Sudeikis says. So tonight, especially, I was just like, very heartfelt.
Yeah, and it has to touch you. I mean, he brought up, I didn't get to catch every single one of them, but I mean, he brought up like the wild and crazy guys all the way going back all the way to the 70s, the beginning of the show. Gilly, Farley, Gilda, Eddie, Costello, the Stones, Nirvana. Like, to me, I'm curious, I would always, if I got a chance to interview Jason, I would ask him, like, are these the people that have stood out to you in terms of like your watching of the show, or is this just a list of people that you felt like was important to mention? But just really, like, if you go back and you rewatch the names or the sketches that he mentioned in that monologue, it has to like just fill you with wonderful nostalgia. So even if we didn't get it through cameos tonight, I do feel like this monologue really gave you a lot if you are an SNL watcher. So this will definitely be a monologue that I recommend for people to go check out, past this show for sure. And I will say one last thing about the monologue. This is the 4th week in a row we've basically gotten a real monologue. And I cannot believe it. If I was a betting person, I would not say that we were going to get that this week. And it was a wonderful decision by the show to let this happen again for the 4th week in a row. So Just amazing. Roy, let me start with you this time. Let's talk about the science room. So this is a recurring sketch. This is the third time we got to see it. We got to see it with Sam Rockwell, Adam Driver, and now Jason Sudeikis. How did you feel about the science room?
I loved it. It was good. I saw, you know, how they showed like the little clips of it in between commercial breaks. As soon as I saw the set, I was like, oh, we're doing the science lab. So big fan of it. I love Cecily Strong. So every time I see her pop up in a sketch, I'm typically already on the side of the sketch. Plus, I just love the science lab sketches. They always make me laugh. So yeah, this one no different. Jason just came on. I will say the very first joke, the very corny periodic table joke, it broke me the whole sketch. I was giggling the whole time.
Yeah, there were some really incredible lines in this one, and it got like a little touchy here and there, but they really like I felt like they walked the line pretty good on this one. Maggie, how did you feel about the science room?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting choice to start off the night. I would have wanted them to maybe start off with something that had more cast members in it because it was so tight just on those three. And then you had the two parents come in really quickly at the end. But I think that it was a good sort of like, lead into the rest of the show. And it's something recognizable that we're, as the audience, we're settling in and we're like, okay, yeah, science lab. So yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought Mikey Day was really, really cute in this one too. I thought that he and Cecily both were very funny.
Yeah, Bill, I mean, the writing on this sketch was pretty outstanding. This was written by Streeter Seidel and Jasmine Pierce, and the writing on this with all the matter stuff and the my sister said you should never ignore the balls. I mean, there was some really like crazy lines in this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the gravity lines, what are these balls, planets, and just keep going back and forth on that. Points to the sun instead of the earth and then grabs the sun and clings onto it. I mean, there was some really, really funny stuff going on here. Very silly to start the night, but I think it was kind of the perfect segue from an emotional monologue coming back from the commercial and leading into the silliness for a little while. Yeah, the sister said you should never ignore the balls was the best best line in the sketch.
Yeah, that was insane. That was really crazy. So this was like we were already off to a good start. I think this was really well done. And then we got to go to our first pre-tape, and we got to see Melon, otherwise known as Male Ellen. So Maggie, yeah, this was definitely a little bit broy. Maggie, can I start with you on this one? How did you feel about Melon?
I thought it was like a minute and a half too long.
Okay.
Like I thought they accomplished what they needed to accomplish in the first minute. Like to me, it could have been a TikTok. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
I got it. And then we just sort of kept going on and on and on. But I did like how it was like dunking on all of these like broy, sort of figures. And this actually I enjoyed because I was able to laugh along with it because I got the joke. But some of the other ones I was sort of like, I don't think I'm the correct audience for this sketch, but this one, at least I was like, yep. When they're talking about like dad dancing and like, instead of cute kids, it's like the jerk kids that, 8th graders think are hilarious to like be rude to people. Like I got it and I thought it was cute.
Yeah, for sure. Roy, was there anyone that stood out to you? I know that for me, the JAJ as Louis C.K. was pretty interesting because we actually got to see JAJ's audition tape. I know it was put on Reddit today, but we got to see it a few days ago, and the Louis C.K. was in his audition tape, so this was something they were holding back for him. Anything here, like any different impressions stand out to you from the Melon pre-tape?
Mostly just the JAJ one. That one really threw me off. I had never seen that one before. So I was like, oh, someone's doing a Louis C.K. impersonation? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anyone do that. So I was like, okay. JAJ was very prominent in this episode. And I gotta say, he is growing on me by the episode. This is just another really strong outing for him. But yeah, no, Melon was a fun sketch. I do agree with Maggie. I felt like it went a little long. But the first 30 seconds of seeing Jason Sudeikis in the wig jumping on the trampoline killed me. That was great.
Yeah, that was good. The Bill, the Chris Red as Kyrie Irving and then Aristotle coming in and vaccinating him totally got me. Like that was
Oh,
amazing.
sneak up surprises. I mean, anything with sports is always going to get me, and all the Kyrie Irving news that's been in the news this week. That was great how he brought him on, and it wasn't the first time that he'd done it to him, so that was pretty funny as well. And I do love the gritty cameo from the Flyers sneaking up to women in the restroom. But yeah, I'll echo what Maggie and Roy said. It was way too long, and if we missed a "Please Don't Destroy" pre-tape for this, I'm a
I
little pissed off
know,
about
I
that.
know.
But
That was my biggest disappointment of the night that we didn't
yeah,
see
like
any Please Don't Destroy. I've seen them live here in New York too. Like I've gone to see their sketch show and they're
oh wow,
so talented. I was trying
yes.
to figure out if their fingerprints were on any of the sketches. And the only one, I don't know, John, if you know, because I couldn't find a list of who wrote what before we started.
Yeah, so we have that, Maggie. We'll put that out. They did write. Okay, so no, the only one that I see that they wrote here was a sketch that was cut at Dress, and then they also had PDD pre-tape was cut at Dress, and that one was the guys go on about how a new show has been taking the world by storm, and they're worried they won't be able to keep up with small talk because they haven't seen it yet. So that is something that may end up on YouTube.
Or at least their
Yeah.
Instagrams.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So PDD was shut out tonight. They have had some very good weeks, but yes, I am disappointed that we didn't get to see that as well. I mean, I didn't hate Melon, but I certainly understand that everybody here felt like it was a little bit too long. I think the chat generally agrees with that as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Please Don't Destroy bit ended up online. That would be disappointing to see that the second time in a row. One really cool connection here, and I do wonder if there was anything that to this at all, was that Liz Patrick, the new director of Saturday Night Live, actually came from Ellen's show. So I do wonder if maybe like that could have inspired this somewhere, whoever ended up writing this Melon pre-tape. And then we get to Annie. And let's talk about Annie. And we got to see Jason as Ricky in this one. Bill, how are you feeling about Annie?
Oh, the slimy mob guy by Jason, just so great. I mean, you know exactly where this is going right from the second you see him. But they keep singing and they keep going, and like every time they cut away and it got a little bit shorter, they'd cut the song shorter and shorter, and having Ego talk about how they'd been together 3 times. No, you need to be more specific. What are you providing to Annie's father? So the escalation was okay. The providing human meat, you know. But Jason was great in this, and it might have been his most outrageous character of the night.
Yeah, Maggie, I kind of feel that this sketch was probably my least favorite of the night. I didn't feel like I got too much from it, but for me, Jason kind of saved as much as he could of this. Like he was really putting in the hard yards to get this one to a decent point. How did you feel about it?
Sure. Yeah, I think my favorite sketches are when we're leaning into like the absurdity of the situation versus when it's super charactery or super character driven. And this one was just Annie with like a creepy weirdo in it. So I was sort of this wasn't my favorite of the night either, but I do think that they did well with what they had, and I thought like Cecily and Melissa were cute, and I thought Jason did a good job. And I liked sort of the Squid Game tie-in at the end. I thought that sort of tied it together fairly nicely.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. I didn't think about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Roy, how'd you feel about Annie?
I didn't see the Squid Game thing at the. I haven't seen Squid Game yet. I'm gonna watch it. Maybe that last little bit will make a little bit more sense to me then. Um, Annie, it wasn't my favorite either. Uh, Once I know people in the chat have been saying it, but Jason really kept that one together for me. I like seeing Jason in that one. But yeah, it really wasn't my favorite. I will say the only note that I put on for that sketch was ew, Tootsie Rolls. He handed out Tootsie Rolls. Ew, gross. Who eats Tootsie Rolls?
Right. I actually, this is a great point, and this was something I was thinking about. I was trying to think, who does Jason remind me of in this one, and I think I did figure this out, but I appreciate this. Patron Johnny Fletcher, who joined us on the Patron Feedback show this week, says big Dan Aykroyd vibes from Jason in this Annie sketch, and I think that is an excellent point, Johnny. I really feel like he was very Dan Aykroyd-ish in this one. This, to me, felt like a sketch that in maybe like the 2012, 2013 era, like near Jason's end on SNL, this would be the type of sketch that we would see him in. I don't know that this worked for me as much as the stuff that may have gotten cut, but I guess we'll see what ends up online as we go throughout the week. And then we get to what I consider as like definitely one of my favorites of the entire night.
The best of the evening, if I do say so. Mm-hmm.
Maggie, take this. Explain what you loved about parent-teacher conference.
I mean, so this is sort of what I was referring at the top of the show. Like the sequence of events that happens, like Jason is hitting on the mother character. The teacher character is hitting on the mother character with the husband right there. And I just loved how Jason just was like seducing her, just straight up seducing her. It was like a seduction sequence that we were watching. And then, the Kyle Mooney is like, I'm here. Hello. And he got to be the super like charactery one. But we were just watching Ego and Jason just like basically seduce one another. And the reality of it, how grounded it was, I thought made it so much funnier. The fact that they were playing the truth of the situation versus the absurdity of the situation was what I was laughing out loud on my couch.
Bill, we were talking last week about that mattress sketch being the best of the season. I think this might have been the best of the season that we've seen. I just think Ego did unbelievable work in this, and the character work of Kyle versus Jason in this one was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be up there for sure. Ego shows again how she is becoming the MVP of this show, and we always talk about when people come back that were former cast members to host, how to see them with new cast members and to see how they gel. And Jason and Ego were so great together in this. They played their scene perfectly. Kyle certainly knows his lane. How many cuckolds has he played at this point? I mean, but like it was really, really funny. You knew, again, it's kind of like earlier sketches, the escalation. You know where it's going. But it's still funny as hell, and it doesn't bother you that you know where it's going.
Me neither. I just think that the confidence that Jason Sudeikis has to play this role is unbelievable. Roy, how are you feeling about it?
You all nailed it already. I just love Kyle. I just love Kyle so much. Put Kyle in more stuff. That's all I ask. But yeah, fantastic sketch.
Yeah, it's just that Kyle, like people are saying in the chat, everyone played to their strengths. Kyle playing this like weak-minded person who like can't handle the situation, and like if you had to pick former cast members to come on in and play like the confident douchebag, I think that this was like not exactly the a-hole that you would say, but really like, am I the a-hole? Jason was kind of playing that role in this one, so I think this was an excellent sketch to see. Go ahead.
When Ego was up there with the chalk, that was my favorite part. When she was like, "Should I use a big piece of chalk?" I was like, "This is amazing."
Yes, that is one that you absolutely have to rewatch that over the week. I mean, that was just a fantastic sketch, and I cannot wait to continue to go over that as we go. And then we got to men's underwear. So, Maggie, I wasn't sure if I should go to you on this one. Do you have anything that you want to say about men's underwear?
I didn't realize this was such an issue that we would write a sketch about it. I was like, okay, sure. I don't know. The skid marks, I guess, are a big issue in men's underwear. I don't know. Is that what they were getting at in the sketch?
Oh, and so much more, I think.
Well,
I didn't relate to it either, and I'm a man.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm not. Sure.
Who was this for? That's what I didn't understand. Because I don't think this is a gender-based thing. I think this is just like a general thing that like applies. But suddenly they just like wrote a gender-based sketch about this, and I'm just not really sure why. Bill, was there anything here that you clung onto?
Chris Redd comes in and saves the day at
Mhm.
the end with his long speech about wiping for like an hour and then having to drive home. But no, it's really not redeemable. Maybe the worst pre-tape we've seen in a couple of years. Like this was really not even that it was tasteless. It didn't make any sense. I don't know who, like you said, I don't know who it was for. Does anybody relate to this?
Well, apparently some people in the chat do. It's just fine if you do, but
Fair
I think
enough.
that yeah, I think there was the potential to probably put "Please Don't Destroy" in here instead of men's underwear, but
And
what? Who am I?
I'm not trying to say, like, I completely understand that sometimes there are, gendered sketches that are more like this is something that a certain gender deals with more, so you're going to relate to it more and like think that it's funnier. But I just personally was sort of like the plastic bags. Also, I was like, what's okay? Sure, yeah, I go for it, totally.
But like, look, there's been plenty of like poo jokes and poo humor throughout the history of the show that's actually funny. I just don't know
Hmm.
what was the thing here? Like, what were we supposed to get from this? Roy, help me out.
I, I don't know. Yeah, lost me on that one. The only thing that got a chuckle out of me was the last line from Chris Redd, which is
Hmm.
when he's like, "I'm a man," and he says it like super under his breath. I got a chuckle from that one, but everything else, I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
someone wrote this. This is not my favorite." I think that one could have been cut for time, but it seems
Yeah.
like we're
Anyway,
all on the same page.
yeah, I think we're all in agreement about this. Look, anyways, it is what it is. It's out there. Let's let's move on. Let's talk about what we got to see on Weekend Update tonight, which I really enjoyed. And I would like to say SNL didn't acknowledge it, but I will acknowledge it here on this podcast. Big congratulations to Colin Jost tonight. Colin Jost became the longest tenured Weekend Update anchor in the history of the show tonight. So he passed Seth Meyers at 155 episodes. So I was hoping that the show would acknowledge it because I actually think it's a very big deal. There's been a lot of Weekend Update anchors in the history of the show, and I'm just surprised that they wouldn't do some type of congratulations. Maybe because Michael Che is about 8 episodes behind, they wanted to wait on something like that. But Bill, any thoughts on them not mentioning this and really as Ghost as an update anchor?
I'm not surprised they didn't mention it. They kind of lean away from that kind of stuff these days. But did anybody have this on their scorebook 8 years ago when he took over? I really am surprised. And like I've said before, I think they're two of the best Weekend Update anchors we've ever had. You didn't see that at the beginning, but they really grew into it. They grew into it more than most do. Most of the time, with Weekend Update anchors, who they're going to be pretty much from Jump Street. I think, he's had a hell of a run, and I'm glad that he's back. And maybe after Che makes it in 8 episodes, we'll see some more celebration.
Yeah, I really hope so because I do think that these people, Jost and Shay, definitely deserve it. I mean, I went back to just like post some social media stuff this week about it, and I was starting to look at some of the 2014 Colin Jost Weekend Updates, and he is a completely different person than when he started on Weekend Update. It's really fantastic. Maggie, any word here on Colin Jost becoming the longest tenured Weekend Update anchor in the history of the show?
That's awesome. I hope that they say something when he and Che, once Che hits, that benchmark as well. Because
Yeah, for
really,
sure.
like they are a pair. Jost might have started 8 episodes before, but when you think of them, you think of Jost and Che.
Yeah, it's really, really incredible, and maybe that is why they decided not to do something tonight on this. Roy, any word on Jost's record being Seth's record being broken and Jost taking that over?
I'm as impressed as everyone else here. I do remember when Joe started doing Weekend Update. That was around the time that I really started to gain more of an interest in Weekend Update. And yeah, it's been interesting to see how he's progressed over all these years. I'm excited. I really like what they're doing right now. Every single, they might have their ups and downs with each week, but consistently they always have at least two or three really good ones in there, and that's
Hmm.
respectable to me. I think that's really good.
Yeah, well, big congratulations to Colin. And then, so like I said, so tonight's update originally featured 3 different appearances. We had Melissa during dress rehearsal. We had Alex, who ended up being cut for time. And then we had Jason Sudeikis' return as the devil. So we've obviously seen a lot of Jason on update throughout his years on the show. Bill, were you happy to see the devil back?
Oh, so happy. As soon as we knew that he was going to be on Update, we knew who it was going to be. And he had so many good lines in this. And I think, Maggie touched on this earlier. He all the recurring characters he brought back have this kind of silent quality to them, and even the devil of all people he has, and that's the kind of stuff that Jason brings to everything he does on the show. So I'm glad this was one of the recurring characters we saw. Love the jokes about the Astros making it and shouldn't have, and Brady still going strong, and beta testing in Florida. Yeah, I mean there was a lot of good stuff here with Jason.
Yeah, Maggie, how did you feel about seeing the devil return to Weekend Update tonight?
It's so great. I love, and sort of to piggyback off of what you were saying, Bill, I love that most of his characters are really grounded. Like the devil is just sort of like he doesn't play him. He plays him just sort of like a douchey guy that it's really fun, and I was really excited that he was reprising the role this week.
Yeah, this was our 6th appearance of the devil that we've gotten. Roy, were there any parts of Jason's appearance as the devil that you really loved?
Oh, my favorite is when his phone rings and Jost goes, "Oh, what's that?" And he goes, "It's a phone." And he just like looks at him like, "Yeah, come on, Jost." That was my favorite part of the whole thing. It got me. For some reason, it just really got me.
Yeah, I loved the Colin Jost Scarlett Johansson stuff that the devil was doing. I thought that was to me that was by far the best part. Like we have to go back on our deal to let you marry Scarlett. I don't know who screwed her more, you or Disney. This to me was really, really funny to see all of that stuff, and I love those like self-referential moments. Our friend Brennan sent me a little note that said the last time Weekend Update had one appearance on it was November 7th, 2020. So it's been a little bit since we've seen that. So that was a little bit surprising. A tight update, but they needed to do that in order to get in what's up with that. So, Bill, it came back tonight.
Ooh-wee. Did we find out Fred and Jason's character's name tonight? I mean, not to bury the lead of Jason doing this, but
I think we knew. I think we knew it was Vance and Giuseppe. I think we got.
Did we know that? Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
This was fantastic. You wish there could have been a couple more people, but Mikey Day did a valiant job taking over for Forte, and I'm blanking. Who else did it?
Taron Killam.
Taron Killam, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cameos, like I said earlier, a little random. Obviously, no Lindsey Buckingham, but the jokes that Keenan was making about Nicholas Braun being Lindsey were fantastic, and cutting to Jason twice and asking him about his knees, and he's drinking whiskey and smoking. Perfect. So you gave Jason a little bit more time with this very silent character.
Yeah, for sure. And I really was wondering, that was my big question, were they going to give Vance any lines because he is hosting, but they really played into the character and honored the character throughout his time on the show. Maggie, were you a big what's up with that person during Jason's time on the show?
Yes, I love the sketch. When I saw the what's up with that was up, I got so excited, and just to have Fred there too. And yeah, the people were random, but I think that's usually what happens in the sketch, right? You're just like, they're literally just here to sit there because Keenan's gonna sing over them. But I thought it was so fun, and it was what you hope for when you get the news that Jason Sudeikis is hosting.
Right. Keenan was in his full prime on this one. He was raring to go. This is I know it was Jason's night, but this is Keenan's sketch at his heart. And I literally never see more fire in Keenan's eyes than when he's doing the sketch.
Oh, and I love what's up with that. I think it's one of my favorite recurring sketches. I think it probably is my favorite Keenan sketch of all time. I just think he has fun with it. You can tell the celebrities that they get on love it. It's fantastic. I mean, it's so much fun. Yeah, big fan of what's up with that. Love Jason Sudeikis' dancing every time. I can't stop looking at it.
He's so good at this, and I love how this new storyline that Vance's knees are messed up. That's pretty good. This was our 11th What's Up with That. I believe this is our first What's Up with That we ever gotten without Lindsey Buckingham. Bill, did you feel like we were missing having Bill Hader there tonight, not in this sketch?
Yeah, and Nicole mentions it in the chat, but the first time he says Lindsey Buckingham, I was like, "Oh, are we getting him? Is Nicholas going to be gone?" And it wasn't, obviously. So, yeah, I think that kind of takes away from a little bit of it, but I think Keenan and Jason and Fred really covered up the fact that Bill wasn't there, and they made it great anyway.
Yeah, I would say that like live tonight, it's totally fine. I feel like on a like rewatch down the road, maybe like, or you're watching through all the What's Up with That's on YouTube, potentially, you're like a little bit disappointed that Bill Hader isn't in this one. But obviously, they can only do what they can do. And I just have to say, as a Chicago Cubs fan, having Steve Bartman there was insane. Like that, like playing Steve Bartman, obviously, but like that was really wild and totally random, like the weirdest thing. I was happy to see Fred Armisen there. Maggie, were you surprised not to see Fred Armisen being in the building and not in anything else with Jason throughout the night?
No, because I think that he came for his cameo to support his friend, and that's what he was there for. And Jason, clearly the rest of the sketches were pretty strong and they didn't need his cameo, anywhere else in the show. So I'm actually not surprised at that.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. Anything else on What's Up with that you guys wanted to say? Okay. Let's move on to a declaration pitch. And this was a sketch about the Declaration of Independence. And we get Andrew Dismukes. And this really kind of felt like his moment where he was, pitching to get a boss ass treasure map on I don't know if it was on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Roy, how are you feeling about the declaration pitch?
I thought it was pretty good. It got a few laughs out of me. I love seeing Dismukes. And also JAJ was in that one as well. And Mooney. So pretty much all of my current favorite people were in that sketch. It went a little long for me personally, but it definitely started off very strong. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I did enjoy this one. I did feel like it probably like there were some much higher highs this night. But Maggie, how did you feel about Declaration Pitch?
Yeah, I thought it was cute. I thought that they were gonna go more into. I thought it was gonna like turn into National Treasure, because that's the whole thing, right? Is that there's the treasure map, and then they never really went down that road. So I was really surprised that they didn't, like have a Nicolas Cage reference, or like, when 80 and I can't remember who else was with her when they came out from the future. When they were like, oh, you should do it because it's cool. Or I thought that they were going to have like Nicolas Cage appear or something, that's what the punchline I was waiting for. But I thought that it was fun. It took a second sort of to ease into it, but once they got the ball rolling on it, I thought it was cute.
For sure. This was Andrew Dismukes and Celeste Yim who wrote this. So people in the chat were asking about that one. Bill Kenney, how'd you feel about this one?
Very silly again. Second really silly sketch of the night. But I really kind of like where Dismukes is going in his career, his early part of his career on the show. He fills these really goofy roles very well. And yeah, Kyle Mooney is all over this episode. We were just talking about what's he going to do on the show now that Beck's gone, and he's in more sketches now than he ever was. So it's kind of interesting to see where he is. I mean, Jason had a couple of good lines as Jefferson, and he got into the whole idea when he said it wasn't for babies. So that I like that line as well. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty silly, but it worked for me. Okay.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's almost as if Kyle Mooney knew that he was in the least amount of sketches this season so far, and then somebody did something about it. So I was happy to see Kyle Mooney really do a lot tonight. It was really fun to see that. And then we get to our last sketch of the night, which was the casino proposal sketch. So we didn't end up having another sketch that was cut for time tonight during the show, and that was a sketch called Country Show that was supposed to air before Casino Proposal. Casino Proposal was our planned 10-1 for the night, and this was a sketch where Jason and Keenan are trying to make a deal somewhat about someone sleeping with Heidi, who was playing Jason's wife. I'm not sure how to feel about this one yet. This one I'm still iffy on. Bill, how did you feel about this one?
Well, referencing a 30-year-old movie, I don't know if that always works, but I think Keenan and Jason really showed that they've worked together for 20 years. They really vibed off each other in this. Keenan did what Keenan does best. I mean, just completely random numbers, and then talking about 6 million cat hairs, and so it was okay. It wasn't great. I'm glad Heidi got something to do because she was really kind of absent from the whole episode. But yeah, I mean, Keenan and Jason were fine, but it wasn't my favorite of the night.
I did feel like the Jason confidence that we got to see earlier on in some of the sketches definitely carried on to this role. Like, I'm not sure other cast members could have played this role as well, in my opinion. Maggie, how did you feel about the 10-1?
Yeah, I actually I thought that Heidi really Keenan was hilarious in this sketch, but I thought that Heidi really grounded it for me. Like when when he said $5 million and Heidi sort of perked up and was like, it's a lot of money. I thought that that was what was really making me laugh about the sketch. Obviously Keenan's wackiness with the role was hilarious, but Heidi I thought really grounded it for me and kept the momentum going. And she was the one, asking about doll hairs, like getting really upset about going back and forth. And she seemed like the one who was more willing to do it versus Jason's character, who was just sort of like, get out of here. So I thought that it was a really great shining display for her tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like, underreported story is that Heidi has been absolutely crushing this season, especially with the absence of Kate McKinnon. She has totally stepped up into one of those lead cast member roles this season, and she was perfectly cast in this, Maggie. It's a great, great point.
Roy, I think Heidi is criminally underrated. Sorry, I think Heidi is criminally underrated. I think she's absolutely hilarious in everything she does. All her characters are spot on. Usually she does the neurotic characters super well. And yeah, I loved her in this.
100%. Roy, how'd you feel about our 10-1?
I thought it was pretty good. This is another one that I thought was pretty funny. I love Keenan as well. The wild numbers that threw me off. That was pretty funny. I love I think, what number did we start with? Did he say $5,000 or 2,000? 2,000. Okay, no deal. 5 million. I was like, what a jump, and just kept bouncing around. I thought that was I really liked that sketch. Yeah, it was a good one to close on, I think.
I don't know if I'm just like completely insane and like this was like delirium by the end of the night, but I totally thought that this sketch was going to end up being some version of Deal or No Deal at some point, just because the way that they were going back and forth on it, like it really felt like that was heading in that direction. I thought that was going to be like somewhat of a twist ending to this. I'm not sure if anybody in the chat felt like that as well, but I really feel like this was a good sketch. It wasn't like amazing. Like we got to see the parent teacher conference or some of the other ones we saw earlier in the night, but I felt like it was a solid 10-1 as we finished off the night. Okay. So, to me, very successful episode of SNL. There was some weird stuff. There was some really, really good stuff in this. Chat, how we do this is we ask you for a 1 to 10 on the night. So let us know what you think. Panelists, I will ask you the same thing. Bill, give us a 1 to 10 for the night. How are you grading this episode?
I will give it an 8 out of 10, taking off points for the men's underwear pre-tape, but everything else was great. I wish we saw a little bit more of the cast. I feel like there was a lot of people either absent or only in 1 or 2 sketches, but Jason delivered as much as we could possibly have hoped. And this is why we get excited when we get somebody announced like Jason Sudeikis as a host, because we know we're going to get a great episode.
Yeah. For sure. Maggie, give us your number grade for this episode.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7. Like I said, sort of throughout this, I felt like it was a little bro-y for my taste. I was really missing, some of the women's voices. I would have loved to have seen Bowen as, a big character in one of the sketches as well. I really sort of missed his presence. But I thought that Jason is a phenomenal host. Obviously, he brought such energy to the show. And he did a fantastic job. You can't ask for a better host than Jason. I think that just having Jason there, it lent the sketches and the type of comedy tonight to stuff that I don't prefer as much. That's the only reason that I am docking it a little bit.
Yeah, totally fair, for sure. Roy, what number are you going to give to this episode?
I'm going between a 7 and an 8. So I'm going to stick with the 8. I thought it was a really solid episode. There weren't any sketches besides the men underwear sketch, that I didn't like. The other ones were all pretty good. Even the ones that I was kind of lukewarm on had at least 1 or 2 really good laughs in there for me. And that monologue was fantastic. I mean, that was such a beautiful monologue. That sold me on the rest of the show. So, yeah, I think I'm okay with an 8.
For sure. I also polled our Instagram audience as well. So we asked the Instagram followers to send us what they think, and they gave, I would say, it's about an 8.5. So pretty much in line with what we are looking at tonight. For me, this is a 9. I know that I'm like very excited about this, and Maggie, I totally understand where you're coming from. Like maybe this definitely appeals to me more, but I really felt like there were some really high highs, and this was one of the most this was some of the most fun I've had with an episode of SNL in a very long time, just to see Jason come back and just be so 100% game. I know there was a point in Jason Sudeikis' career where he had like a little bit of an iffy relationship with SNL, and he wasn't sure if he was going to leave or not. And just to see him come home and have so much fun, like even the bad sketches that he was in, because he wasn't in Men's Underwear, so I'm going to give that a pass, but I'm just saying, but even like the bad sketches he was in, he brought them up for me. So for me, this was a 9 out of 10 episode, and for me, definitely my favorite of the season so far. So that's our episode. We're coming back in 2 weeks from now. We have Kieran Culkin coming in from Succession with musical guest Ed Sheeran. Bill, how do you feel about Kieran Culkin coming in?
I'm not a watcher of Succession, but obviously I'm familiar with Kieran, Macaulay's brother, and I believe that he appeared on Macaulay's episode back in the early '90s as a little kid. So that'll be fun to see if they bring up those comparisons or bring up some old video from the early '90s. So yeah, I'm psyched.
Yeah, he was in 3 sketches during that Macaulay Culkin episode, Macaulay being one of the youngest people to ever host SNL when he hosted it during his Home Alone days in the early 90s. So this will be fun, and it'll be interesting to see who shows up for that episode. Maggie, do you have any frame of reference for Kieran Culkin?
Yes, I love him. I'm a huge Succession fan. I'm super excited. I was excited Nick Braun was on tonight. I'm super excited that Kieran is hosting because he's absolutely hilarious on the show, and I know he's going to be fabulous. So.
Yeah, definitely. Roy, what about you?
Over the moon. Cannot wait. Big fan of Succession. I don't know if we'll be able to get this in camera, but Kieran Culkin plays Wallace Wells on Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Cool.
Love the movie. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him on the show. I think he's going to do great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun episode. So we are off for 1 week, and then we have 3 weeks in November of new SNL shows. But as far as what is coming up on the SNL network, I really hope you enjoyed our hot take show tonight. On Monday night, we're going to dive even deeper to all the sketches in our roundtable. So we're going to talk about the ones that really worked and maybe why some didn't as well. But it'll be really fun to go over the Jason Sudeikis, Brandi Carlile episode on our roundtable. On Thursday, we have our patron feedback show, and we have our patron Casey Killingsworth in the chat. Casey's going to join us on Thursday. It's always fun to get to catch up with him to answer questions from the SNL community, to talk about everything from this Jason Sudeikis episode and what we can look forward to in the November episodes. And then on Monday, November 1st, in that time slot where we have our roundtable, there will be a Superfan takeover coming up. And Bill, can you tell the listeners what they can look forward to in the Superfan takeover coming up at the beginning of November?
We will be talking about the best of SNL Halloween over the last 47 years. So that should be a lot of fun. It's always a good time and a lot of great minds talking about SNL. So it'll be a frightful get together.
Yes, it'll be really fun to catch that show. So we're gonna air that show for the patrons tomorrow. So if you are a patron of the SNL Network, you'll get to see the recording of that show live, and then for everybody else, you'll get that show on Monday, November 1st in the evening. So I'm so thrilled that everybody joined us in the chat for these last 4 weeks. It's been so much fun to get to do the hot take shows in season 47. I really appreciate everybody joining us. If you're listening, please click that subscribe button. We really appreciate that. It helps people find the show, and also like the video. It's really helpful as well. Bill, Kenney, where can people reach out to you?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at BKLove73.
Okay. And Maggie, thank you for joining us for the first time on the SNL Network. I can't wait to hear from you so much throughout the season. I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope that some of the episodes we get to see appeal a little bit more to your style.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Please tell the listeners where they can reach out to you and what other podcasts you do. I know you have a full lineup.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at MLMorgan_, and I also host a weekly podcast about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City on the RHAP network. So you can find that from the RHAP Rahap Up feed, wherever you listen to podcasts. and I usually cover Big Brother when it's on, but it's off season right now. So maybe later in the SNL season, I'll have a Big Brother podcast to plug as well.
Yeah, Maggie is excellent on those shows. So really, I encourage you to check it out whenever she's on any of the RHAP podcasts.
Thank you,
Roy,
John.
my pleasure. Thanks, Roy. Where can people reach out to you?
I'm on Instagram. My what's it handle? Is that what they call it? Wow, that was really old sounding of me. It's at Roy Richardson Jr. It's just my name. And I just have an Instagram. I'm pretty boring.
Okay, well, no problem with that. You can also follow us on Instagram, like Roy said. We're on Twitter. We're also on TikTok. Our Nicole is in the chat. She's working very hard on building up that TikTok, along with some of our interns, Hallie and Maddie, as well. So we're really building up that social media presence on TikTok. That'll be a lot of fun to do this season. So make sure to follow us on all of those platforms. And I said this earlier in the week: if you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, I will read them on the patron feedback show. So please, if you feel like doing that, read that. You can follow us at the SNL Network and myself at Jon Schneider 24. Thank you everyone so much for staying up late with us these past 4 weeks. It's been an absolute blast. We will see you on the roundtable on Monday night. Have a good one.